Death. What is it? We're all going to die someday. Well, at least you are. So you might want to know what to expect after you've taken your last earthly breath. I mean, come on, don't you really want to know what happens when you die? How has death been viewed through history? What's the different religious and spiritual associations with dying? Are we really afraid of the darkness, and what role does it play in our belief systems? And of course, the big question, what happens after? Death is what I'm talking about. And of course, you're all just dying to hear what I got to say. You get the pun? Huh? Getting to the serious side, though, being a Christian, I'm familiar with the concept of heaven and hell, but let's talk about how death and the afterlife are viewed through the lens of other religions. Islam, much like Christianity, has a version of heaven and hell, but it is a bit different. Apparently, Muslims believe your body lies in your coffin, while angels question your soul about your beliefs and practices. For the righteous, the time being questioned is like paradise, not so much for the unrighteousness. When final judgment is announced, all are resurrected. Cremation isn't really an option for Muslims, as they do believe in physical reincarnation. Judaism, on the other hand, doesn't have a clear definition of life after death, but when it is talked about, it's a shadow-filled half-a-life in the underworld, or something weird and strange like that. This is mostly because God, for the Jewish faith, is a God of the living. Hinduism believes the Atman, or the self, perhaps what we call the soul, will be reincarnated. Yet unlike the Muslim faith, most Hindus are cremated. A bit different than Hindus, Sikhism also believes in reincarnation, but with a difference. The Sikh believes your soul passes through different births until it reaches what they call mukti, or liberation. Now, I would like to make a quick disclaimer here. I'm not Muslim, a Jew, Hindu, or Sikh, and I seriously hope I represented their beliefs honestly while trying to keep it somewhat simple. But no doubt I probably pissed off someone somewhere, and for that I am sorry. From my point of view, most major religions have individual beliefs about what happens after we die, but religion isn't the only game out there when it comes to death. Science has its own ideas, at least about how we die, but before we get to the scientific process, let's talk about how death has been viewed through human history. The common and growing belief today is that our ancestors, even those that lived 2-3 million years ago, had some concept of an afterlife, at least according to our interpretation of what we find drawn on their cave walls and in their burial sites. As mentioned, Hebrews dating back to hundreds of years before Christ were more concerned with living than what happened after you died. The Egyptians way back when mummified their dead because they believed in the Ba, a soul that lived on in the netherworld. And of course, since we're talking old history, the ancient Greeks outright feared death because their gods were known for punishing disobedient humans in their afterlife. Death in the Middle Ages was just accepted and feared everywhere because everybody was dying because of the Black Plague. Then came the Renaissance, the Age of Enlightenment, when people turned more to science than religion to explain what death was. And in the late 1900s, death took on a whole new meaning when spiritualism came into play. As a point of historical interest and reference, the very first documented reference to death and an afterlife appeared over 4,000 years ago in an epic called The Tale of Gilgamesh, predating the Egyptian Book of the Dead by 500 years. I would guess, and guess rightly, that your belief in the afterlife is tied closely to your religion. But science has its own thoughts, and of course, research and investigation are ongoing, especially into extending the human lifespan. Any scientist will say the definition of what death is when the heart stops beating, because the heart is usually the last organ to fail. But what happens next? Who knows? I'll tell you who might have an idea. people that have clinically died and then been resuscitated. That is another topic for another video. So sub and click the damn notification button so you're aware of what this old man is up to. So death. Uh, You know, a person thinks a lot more about death when they get older. And it's interesting because I'm well aware that I got a lot less days ahead of me than I do behind me. So I'm on the last, I don't know, not even the last half, but probably the last quarter of my life. And so I think about it. I think about the afterlife. Of course, I don't necessarily believe in heaven, you know, but I do believe in an afterlife. I if they ain't nothing, who cares? Who's gonna know? But yeah, gotta do this shot here. And you know, I was also before anybody says anything, I'm also aware that there's a lot of religions. Like I didn't even touch on what Buddhists believe, and you know, again, I could do an hour-long documentary. But I am going to do a video on one on reincarnation and on what the hell you call it, being resuscitated after you've been declared dead. Those are just two really interesting subjects, and I'm thinking, well, God, I just got over a hellacious case of COVID. I spent more than a day or two in bed. I tell you. Not fun shit. That's about the worst I ever had it. And yeah, there was a point there where I was thinking, actually, I was coughing so bad, and I was thinking, oh, this is it. But, you know, life goes on. And I'll leave it at that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please sub, do, you know, like it, share it, do what you want to do. I don't. Christ, am I going to get this shot done? You bet I am, baby. I do it like one of those food options on Survivor. It's down. It's gone. Love you. I'm out of here.